Kimberley and how you can join this fight. We're going to have some really interesting yarns tonight and hear from some amazing people from Seed. I'm a little biased, but from Seed and from Environs Kimberley. Martin and Angel have been working on protecting country for decades, and both of their experience, knowledge, and wisdom combined is quite amazing. And we're all very lucky to hear from them tonight. They're going to tell you about their campaigns they're working on and the campaigns they've worked on in the past. And they're going to talk about how all of us can do our part to support these campaigns and make a difference. So we're going to start off with Martin Pritchard from Environs Kimberley. He is going to tell us about his campaign and the moment that we're in right now. So I'll pass over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much. And thanks so much to Seed for organising this. We're really so excited to be working with young mob across the country, and that's the way we're going to win. So I'm going to put that on now. Can you see that slide there?
All good, Martin.
Yeah, excellent. I'm the acting CEO of Environs Kimberley, and I've been up here in Broome for 15 years, working to protect the Kimberley from oil and gas, irrigation, and other industrial proposals that are really not suitable for this magnificent place called the Kimberley. And in front of you there, you can see the Marawara Fitzroy River that's been looked after by traditional owners for 50,000 years plus, forever in a sense. And we really want to call out and show our respect and acknowledge traditional owners across the Kimberley who've been looking after this place for millennia and continue to do so, and whose sovereignty has never been ceded. So thank you. So just to go into some of the detail of what we want to talk about, and let's see. So, there's a big question why we all know that the Kimberley is a really special place, but what are some of the scientific values that we can actually see that make it globally significant? Now, this is a map of the world, obviously. Can you see my cursor moving along the screen there? Yeah. So you can see Australia down here in the bottom right. This is a map that was created in 2008 by a number of different scientists, and they looked around the globe at the coastal areas everywhere on the planet. And you'll see there the blue bits are the places where there's been very low impact. And that's less than, believe it or not, 4% of the planet's coasts have had very low impact. And you can see Antarctica here. You can see the Arctic around Canada, some of South America, but there's not many places left. But when you look at Northern Australia, you can see here. So the Northern Australian coast is really, really special globally. And, this is what the scientists are saying, and it's in the top 4% of the most intact coastlines on the planet. Then when we look at tropical savanna, this is again a map of tropical savanna in between these two lines here. The tropical savanna that is remaining on the planet, the highest integrity or the most intact tropical savanna in the world is in this blue stuff. There's quite a bit there in Central Africa, some in South America, but you can see Northern Australia has the largest, most intact tropical savanna in the world. And of course, the Kimberley makes up a third of that. So, globally, we are really special in that sense, this magnificent country here. And that shows because we've got threatened species that has really declined in other parts of Australia. There's the northern quoll. We've got the Gouldian finch that are still here. We've got the spectacled hair wallaby. These are all threatened species. We've got the black-flanked rock wallaby, not many left in the world. And, most of them are in the Kimberley. And then we've got the bilby. And a lot of what these species have in common is that they are on Aboriginal lands and Aboriginal people are still managing this country. And I think that says a lot about, the way that traditional owners are looking after the country. So what we've also got here is an incredible tourism industry that brings in about $600 million a year. And, the peak of the tourism industry really is cultural tours. And we've got really special cultural tours in places like Mimby Caves, which is about an hour on the other side of Fitzroy Crossing in the central Kimberley there. Incredible experiences. And then we've got people like Bart Pigram here, who runs Nalegia Tours in Broome. They give such a rich experience for visitors who come to this part of the world, the Kimberley, and are really valuable in providing that cultural information for people when they come. And then quickly move on to show you that, unfortunately, as well as being an incredible place in terms of nature and culture, we've also got this massive gas basin here called the Canning Basin, and it's the 8th largest onshore gas basin in the world. And that's what oil and gas companies are targeting right now. And when we look at the Canning Basin, what we know is there's a huge amount of gas in there. That gas can only get out of the ground through fracking. But what we know is that if that gas, all of that gas was burnt, it would be a huge carbon explosion, really, in terms of how much emissions would come out of it. And if it was all burnt, it would be more than double the Paris Agreement carbon budget that Australia has agreed to internationally. So massive carbon implications. And what does that mean? Well, it means that it would be adding to the emissions that are causing climate change in the world right now. And climate change in the Kimberley means extreme heat. And what we're really concerned about is that if we have, for example, see the map of the world on the left-hand side there, that's what 1.5 degrees of warming looks like. And you can see Northern Australia there. Some places are going to be really difficult to live in that kind of extreme heat. So, and then if you're looking at 3 degrees on the right-hand side there, you can see how a huge part of Northern Australia heading down to Southern Australia is going to be unlivable if we keep burning oil and gas like we are now. And, the main message, of course, is that we have to keep that in the ground. And some of the examples are that in the Kimberley, at the moment, Fitzroy Crossing, for example, has 67 days over 40 degrees every year. If we keep burning oil and gas like we are now, it would mean that there would be 225 days a year. That's 7.5 months over 40 degrees. That would make it unlivable, completely transform the environment there. And for us, that's a significant human rights issue because people have been living there for over 50,000 years. And they'd have to move, they'd be refugees in their own country. So, this is a very, very serious issue, a human rights issue here. So what we've got is, just to give you a quick picture, you don't have to read any of that, but basically we've got Buru Energy is one company that is looking at fracking in the Kimberley. We've got Thea Energy, that's another company. They claim to have found 57 billion barrels of oil. And that would be massive if it was there. They would have to frack that. That's a map that they put out themselves. When we sent that to the ABC and there was a story on it, they immediately took that off the net. So they don't want people to see what kind of destructive plans that they have. And then we've got Black Mountain, who have a subsidiary company called Bennett Resources. And they're the ones that want to frack the Kimberley right now. This is one of their maps. And what it's showing is they want to basically build a pipeline from the Kimberley down to Woodside's facilities to export gas. To do that, it would cost around $1.5 to $2 billion. To pay that back, they'd need thousands of oil and gas wells. So we'd be facing a situation where the Kimberley was turned into something that looks like the gas fields of Texas. And, knowing, as you do, how special the Kimberley is as a place, that would be an absolute disaster for us here. So just to give you a bit of an idea, Black Mountain have compared the Canning Basin to an oil and gas basin in America called the Piceance Basin. And what you're seeing here, this is a map of a part of it. So this one, see the red dots here? That's actually a well. And then these kind of things that fan out, these are horizontal wells underground that go out like a whole heap of fingers. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like underground when they are fracking, that's only a small part of it. And what we know is that since 1998, there's been over 14,000 oil and gas wells drilled in the Piceance Basin. So that's the kind of scenario we're actually facing here in the Kimberley through Black Mountain. What is fracking? Well, fracking involves things like really dangerous chemicals. This is one of the wastewater wells that we saw after drilling. There have been 3 wells fracked in the Kimberley. It looks pretty awful, as you can see. It's full of dangerous chemicals that are carcinogens, cause cancer. One person went out and found a dead duck in one of the dams. And just to give you an idea, in America, in Texas, this is a young girl from the Parr family, and she was suffering from nosebleeds, living in the middle of the fracking fields. They sued the oil and gas companies because the whole family was sick. Whole communities are sick in these areas. So not only is it country and animals that suffer from this pollution in the water, we've also got pollution in the air, causing these kind of sicknesses from this really toxic industry. So what we've got here is Black Mountain have got basically a proposal in front of the EPA, and that is to drill and frack 20 wells. It is the biggest fracking proposal ever in Western Australia. It would need 2 billion litres of water and tons of toxic chemicals and huge volumes of toxic waste essentially being produced, including radioactive wastewater that comes out of these wells. This is a map of where they want to drill wells. See these red kind of triangles here? These are 10 well locations. They want to put 2 wells on every pad. This is Mount Hardman Creek here. This is Mount Wynn Creek. This is the Fitzroy River, the Marawara, a really important river, National Heritage listed. All the mobs along this river really been looking after this place for thousands of years. The songline's still intact. It's National Heritage listed because of its cultural values. And we are really worried that Black Mountain wants to frack these wells. Things like wastewater heading into creeks, heading down into the Marawara Fitzroy River, affecting things like critically endangered sawfish. The mobs along the river, they eat the freshwater prawns, a delicacy called jaramba or cherubin. And also, there's barra in this river, catfish, all sorts of food that people love to catch. We'd be really worried that dangerous chemicals would be getting into the water, getting into the food system as well. So just to let you know that we have actually, sometimes it looks a bit hopeless when you've got a Texan billionaire, for example, like Rhett Bennett, pushing this forward. But here you can see we've been campaigning for many years, and we've been successful in a lot of campaigns with our work with Lock the Gate, and now Seed. And we've managed to get rid of Alcoa. And up here in the front is one of the really important traditional owners that we worked with for many years. Unfortunately, he passed away. His name was Mr. Corpus. He's absolute legend here in the Kimberley. We couldn't have done this work without him. And in this instance, we got Alcoa out, did a bit of a campaign. We've also pushed Mitsubishi out. We've pushed Origin Energy out, and we even pushed Andrew Forrest's Squadron Energy out. So all this is really possible. And what makes it possible is the community pushing really hard and making the point that we want to protect the Kimberley from fracking. So we can do it again. We've also done it previously at James Price Point 10 years ago, where we had Woodside, BP, Chevron, BHP, Shell. We had the state government with Colin Barnett. We had the federal government, some parts of the federal government supporting it. We had, a Chinese company coming in afterwards. We had everyone pushing against this in a big way, all the corporates, all the governments. The community came together, working with traditional owners and custodians, and eventually Woodside pulled out. We can do it. That's the main thing, that's the main message, really, that comes out of some of this work that we've done in the past. And everyone here who's on this chat, if you get involved, we can do it again. So what you can do to help protect the Kimberley from fracking, we are going to talk a little bit more about this further on, but just quickly, and we'll make this presentation available to everyone, anyone who wants it. But just as a bit of a reminder of what people can do, obviously you're on the Seed and Environs Kimberley mailing list. Get your friends on there as well, so you can keep in touch with what's happening in the campaign. Send submissions in. We've got a submission period happening now. We'll give the details shortly on how to do that. Get a yellow triangle. You can get on our website, get on our shop. We will send you a yellow triangle wherever you are in the country. It won't cost you anything. If you want to get some for your friends as well, we're more than happy to do that. We've got bumper stickers that look exactly like this yellow triangle as well. Put on your car, put on your friend's car, family, wherever you can put one. Get a T-shirt. We've got T-shirts on our website. If you're a participant now, we will give you a free T-shirt if you email us tomorrow and let us know that you were on this, and you give us your address, and we will send you a free frack-free T-shirt tomorrow if you email us. When there's events coming up around your community, put posters up, let family know, let the community know. And then if you can as well, talk to your local member of parliament. That's really important. If you get a chance, you can do that through our website as well, if you wanted to do that. I'm sure Seed's got that capability as well. And do things like write to the WA Premier, people writing and letting the Premier know that we don't want this. Really, really powerful. So we are going to give people the opportunity to do this a little bit later as well. But if you want to do it on your phone, you can use that QR code now and go straight there and do it, or we can do it shortly. I think we're going to have another opportunity to do that after Angel has had a bit of a chat. So I hope that's given you a bit of a picture. I know I've gone really quickly, but any questions that you've got, you want this information, we can provide it to you. And I'm so happy to be here, so happy to see all of you. And we can help protect the Kimberley from fracking when we all stand together. So thank you very much for that. And I'll hand you back to the wonderful, wonderful people from Seed.
Thank you so much, Martin. That was fantastic. And thank you for all the context and history that really sets the scene. I think these things can feel very confusing and overwhelming at times and a bit of a smoke and mirrors. So having it broken down like that is great and really helps people understand what's actually happening up there and the threat that we're facing. So thank you very much. And it's deadly to end your speech on a note of hope and reminding people we live in a world that makes us feel really powerless a lot of the time to make change. And, stories like Martin's shows us that change is absolutely possible. And it's just about doing all of our part, each one of us. We're not powerful by ourselves, but we're powerful when we're together. So I'm going to pass over to Angel now, the National Director of Seed, and she's going to talk to you about our work, the work that we've done in the past, and also sending a message of hope and empowerment. So I'll pass over to Angel.
Thanks, Steph and Martin. What a hard act to follow. I definitely didn't come with a beautiful presentation, but lots of yarns. For those who are joining who don't know me, I'm Angel. I'm a Bachelor Wapabara and South Sea Islander woman. I'm calling in from Bradabana country, right in the middle of the Bowen Basin in central Queensland. So definitely in the thick of the fossil fuel industry, right in my backyard, which is at times really confronting, but also re-empowers me to keep doing the work that we do right across the country when it comes to coal and gas. And so I think there is actually a few people joining the call tonight who maybe haven't heard from Seed and have joined from different orgs. So just wanted to set a little bit of a scene about Seed and the work that we've done in the past, and then hopefully move into a message of hope, Steph. So Seed is building a movement of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people who lead the solutions for climate change and justice in their communities. Our vision is for a strong and powerful network of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people who are connected and empowered to protect country and lead the fight for climate justice. Seed was launched 10 years ago in a really small room at ANU in Canberra on a really cold June day, 10 years ago now. And we've been a part of some really big campaigns over the last 10 years that have had huge impact, both in the work against stopping extractive industries in both coal and gas across the country. And so I want to take a second to recap that work and really highlight the niche that Seed plays in these campaigns right across the country. And so thinking back 10 years ago when we were a part of the Stop Adani campaign in Queensland, just down the road from me, actually, at the Galilee Basin in Adani's Carmichael coal mine, we supported the Wananga and Jangalingu Family Council to stop the financing for the Adani Carmichael coal mine, the infrastructure, the railway, and also the expansion of Abbott Point Coal Terminal near Bowen on the Queensland coast. I wish I had a map because it's a really long way. Like to get from Mackay, where I am, is about a three and a bit hour drive. So it's a really long way and would have cost a lot of money. But more importantly, would have really sacrificed country for mob out this way. And so our involvement in that campaign saw 4 domestic banks and I think 14 international banks pull out of financing the Adani Carmichael coal mine, the infrastructure and the port. And I think that was one of the really big moments in coal campaigning in the country where it sent this big message that people power can have the impact that we know can make waves. And the power of people organising community and standing together right across the country had banks pull out of financing a project. Like that's really big and really huge and made a big wave politically. And everyone was talking about it. It became really familiar and a really common conversation right across the country. And it was at that time that we at Seed had a national summit and brought together 50 young black fellas from across the country and made the decision to focus more on gas than coal, knowing that gas wasn't getting as much attention as coal when it came to extractive industries. And more often than not, it's First Nations communities on the front lines of the impacts of these extractive industries. And there was mob in the Beetaloo Basin in the Northern Territory who were reaching out asking for support from Seed to really elevate the voices from the frontline communities out there. And so that's what we did. We focused a lot of our campaign energy, capacity, and our grassroots network on the journey of campaigning against gas in this country, and really transformed the language around coal and gas and climate change. And it went from this really big faraway issue that meant that the polar bears didn't have the ice caps to stand on and real stereotypical yarns to actually refocusing it to make sure that frontline communities and climate change are really interconnected. And that's where this intersectionality of climate justice comes into the yarn. And hopefully when people think about the impacts of climate change, they're connecting it to the amount that's at stake for First Nations people right across this country and globally. We contribute the least to the causes of impacts, but we faced with the impacts first and worst. And often it's our culture and country that are sacrificed, that you can't just reseed a you can't reseed a sacred site. Like, these things actually, once they're gone forever. And so Seed, along with other organisations in the NT, led the corporate campaign against Origin Energy for over 7 years. And we did this by community organising and elevating the voices of frontline communities and traditional owners right across the Beetaloo and the NT. We did lots of things. I think George is on the call as well, and she'll remember standing at the front of Origin headquarters for months on end, talking to staff about the power that they had within the campaign. And so there were these. Oh, yep, she's in the chat. Oh, yes, yep, she definitely remembers. We did this by setting up these different pieces of messaging and understanding the audience of people that had connections to this company, Origin Energy. We knew they had customers, they had staff, they have shareholders, and they have their brand. And so did lots of tactics around taking people on the journey to push Origin out of the Beetaloo. And that's what happened back in, I want to say 2022. They divested their license. I could be wrong. Fact check me later, but I think it was 2022. They divested their licenses in the Beetaloo, in the Canning Basin as well. I remember getting that media release and we were like, hell yeah, we did it. Like, it was a massive moment and a massive message to send to a bunch of other companies in this country that, again, people power can win this fight. 2021, so good. 2022. Yeah, so we know that the power of movement building and the power that communities right across this country can hold. And I think taking a lot of the frameworks that Seed built over the 7+ years that we were in the NT and applying them into a over the top of the campaign that EK and Lock the Gate are already leading and have been leading for a really long time in the Kimberley, and filling that niche of organising mob and organising community, because we know that we have the most at stake. And I think the most powerful thing and the most common thing to really tip people into wanting to take action is hearing stories. And I guess coming from a like a long bloodline of culture where storytelling is a really big part of our culture, and I think we're really good at it. Like, we're really good yarners. We could sit here and I reckon yarn for about 5 hours on this webinar tonight if we had to. But really feeling connected to the campaign, where you can hear from people on the front line and you can understand the urgency it is to take action and to stand with communities. And yeah, that's the work that Georgia, Steph, Eds, Phoebe, a lot of the Seed team are leading, and Yisa right across the Kimberley at the moment, is going out and spending 3 weeks in a car driving from community to community, whether it's 2 hours between or 8 hours between, like putting those hard yards in to make sure that our communities aren't left behind and our communities' voices are front and centre when it comes to calling for action to stop fracking in the Kimberley. And I think I don't know, I just really can't wait to start sharing those stories with people that follow EK and Seed on the journey of protecting the Kimberley, and can't wait to have people feel really connected and understand what's at stake and how people can fit into this really big web. And it can feel really hopeless as well at times. Like, it's really hard to feel the wins, when the wins sometimes feel few and far between. But I don't know, I feel a little win every time I see someone sign an EPA submission, or I see someone want to sign up and volunteer, or we get a call back from an auntie in community, and the kids might come over here in a second too, so you might have an appearance of them. But yeah, when you feel connected to the campaign, and you see the campaign growing, and you see the support growing, and you can feel that collective power building and rolling and smouldering away in the background. So we know in moments like this, where we have an opportunity to put a submission into the EPA, we can call on tens of thousands, one day hundreds of thousands of people, to show the power that we have and oppose extractive industries across the country. I'm going to stop yarning because I could yarn for hours, but I'll throw it back to you, Steph, sis.
Thank you so much, Angel. And yeah, I think again, it just reiterates the importance of community building and community connection in this fight, and that we all really need to work together to do this and put in the time and understand that it takes time to build solidarity and community. But if you're on this call and you're passionate about this, if an opportunity shows up in your city or your town, go for it. To show up both online and in person. Because we absolutely can do this. We've done it before and we can do it again. And I think that might be the overall message of this webinar. We absolutely can do this. And we can protect one of the most beautiful sacred places in the world. And I'm very blessed to be on the campaigns team here at SEED. As a Balladong and Whadjuk Noongar woman, I am deeply, deeply passionate and connected to my country, to my rivers, to my waters. And so to travel up to the Kimberley and feel the spiritual power of that place and to see the Marawara in person and feel her spirit and energy, it took my passion to a whole new level for why this is so, so important. And just like Angel said, this is irreplaceable. If we lose this, we'll never get it back. And it's especially important for the mob up there who have been connected to that place forever. I'm going to throw back to Martin to reiterate and remind everyone to sign the EPA submission and talk about why signing the EPA submission is so important right now. Thanks, Martin.
No worries. Yeah, thank you. It's just so good to hear you talk, Angel. And yeah, all those stories are so important. So, what we've got at the moment is we've got this period where we're sending in submissions to the EPA and we need to get thousands of them. I think we've got probably around 4.5, 5,000 at the moment. And that the more that we can get in over the weekend, the stronger that message is to both the EPA, but also to the government. So the government are looking closely at this. Roger Cook, the Premier, he'll be looking closely at the figures. And when they see that there's thousands of people who don't want it, it makes them think twice. Ultimately, what we're calling for is a ban on fracking in the Kimberley. And there's a ban in the southwest and the Peel region and the Perth metro region. So, from our point of view, if there's a ban down there, shouldn't there be a ban here? Why is it allowed in the Kimberley? So we're pushing these messages all the time, and really important that the government hears that there's thousands of people who don't want fracking, and it's part of the campaign. And I can see a couple of questions there, but ideally, people do write their own submission, but there is a guide on the website for people to be able to put one in without doing a whole heap of research. If you put one in and you write it yourself, it is a bit more powerful. But yeah, just getting submissions in, and more importantly, you people now are really engaged because you've had this picture of what's going on, what the threat is, and how we can save it. And the main thing now is that you please send this out to the world. So grab the email link or the website link, sorry, and put it in an email or put it on your Facebook page or put it in your bio on Instagram and spread the word. Spread the word to your friends and your colleagues at work. Tell them this is really easy to do and it's going to help protect the Kimberley from oil and gas and really, really nasty chemicals and a huge amount of carbon emissions. So if you do that, you're going to be really helping to protect this special place that we've got here in the Kimberley and the traditional owners who've been here for more than 50,000 years. That's our message. So hopefully, you've had a good chance to do that, and yeah, please spread the word.
Thank you, Martin. So we're going to launch into a few minutes for questions from the audience. So if you look down the bottom, you'll see a Q&A icon, and you can click on that, and then you can pop any questions you have in there, and we will ask Martin and Angel to answer for everyone. So if anyone would like to pop questions in there, go ahead. I'll give it a minute or two. And if you haven't signed the EPA submission, you can also do that now. Okay, so I've just got I've just got something come through that says just transition question mark. Does anyone want to take that one? Angel, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think a just transition can feel like a really simple way to provide a solution, but it's actually really like a just transition is really complex. And there's a lot of communities that can be taken along a journey when it comes to a just transition. And I mean, living here in the middle of the Bowen Basin, like people will do whatever they have to do to look after their family and put food on the table. And um I think the bigger picture of a just transition is making sure that nobody gets left behind in the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy or whatever the alternative is. And I think when we're looking at a just transition, we also need to remember the alternative is sustainable economic systems in communities and First Nations led and owned economic systems um, and programs. And we saw in Martin's presentation that the tourism industry is worth $600 million. Like there's so much rich culture in this country that is yet to be showcased. And I think that there's a real opportunity here um to shift the leadership and the ownership of what a just transition looks like to be led by First Nations people right across the country, and making sure that communities aren't left behind in the transition, and understanding it's very multifaceted. And I think above all, moving through a just transition, acknowledging that free, prior, and informed consent doesn't change depending on the industry. We know that there's pros and cons in the renewable energy industry. We know that there's pros and cons in the fossil fuel industry. And so just making sure that First Nations people are properly consulted and can say no to projects on country. I think broadly, biggest yarn, good ways like just transition, you could really pick into the nitty gritty of it. But I think it's a bigger conversation that needs to be had, and maybe a webinar we could hold space for, because there's so many different yarns you can have around a just transition.
Thank you, Angel. Just got a few more come through. So this might be one for Martin. I can speak a little bit about the work we're doing at SEED as well, but I'll throw to Martin first. So activism-wise, is there anything on the ground taking place in the Kimberley?
Yeah, so I mean, what we're doing is constantly letting people know what's happening and encouraging people to put up yellow triangles on their fence or on their house, and letting family know. And so what we do is at key moments we get together and we send a really strong message to the government, quite often through gathering as 50, 100 people will have a banner and we'll send a message to the government. That's the key things that we've been doing. We've had a massive concert here in Broome where we had 3,000 people at the Cable Beach Amphitheatre. Really strong way to provide that message through music. We've also got a film that we're showing, Fighting Giants. So we were in Derby a couple of weeks ago with Seed, with Stephanie there, and it was basically showing people what could happen if fracking takes off, and also the fight for the past 10 years. We also showed Seed's great film, Water is Life. So it's about letting people know really on the ground here in the Kimberley. And quite often, the government and industry don't tell people what's going on. So we keep really close tabs on that and let people know. to make sure that they can take action. They're the kind of main things that are happening here on the ground in the Kimberley at the moment.
Thanks, Martin. I'll just speak a little bit about what Seed's doing. So as Angel explained, like our niche in our area is organising, particularly young mob, but mob in general. And when I say organise, I mean give them the tools that they need to organise and to do it in their own way, and for every community to be able to lead their own fights. And so we are in the process of building genuine, deep connections with people in the with mob in the Kimberley, particularly with young mob. And we will be up there for all of November, traveling around, yarning and connecting with people, talking about this message and talking about how we can all work together. And I think Martin highlighted that people power point, that really important people power point, and he also highlighted the importance of education. So in this country, we're facing, a lot of political disengagement, but also lack of education around why this is even a problem. And so there's a big education piece in, sharing it on your socials, sharing it, sending us an email and saying, I'd like to host a filming of Fighting with Giants or Water is Life. And at that filming, you could have people sign a petition, or you could have people join to volunteer. And so these are the types of, planting the seed, no pun intended, planting seeds here and there that can then grow into connected communities that are strong with solidarity, all fighting the same fight and feeling knowledgeable about the issue that we're fighting. We are in the process of that, and that is a process that will evolve. So follow us everywhere at SeedMob, and see what happens. So we've got a few more questions. So someone said, I live in New South Wales. What's the best way to support you all? I think Angel's also typing, but did you want to say it to everyone, Angel, maybe, just in case anyone else is curious?
Yeah, I can yarn. I hate it when we don't get to all the questions, so I was rapidly typing, but I think it's a good point. We've seen it time and time again with national campaigns that are decentralised. Being in New South Wales, I think the best way to support is signing the EPA, putting the word out for your friends and family to sign the EPA. Like Martin was saying before, join our mailing list so you can become a member and follow on the journey of the different pieces that we're doing, and you can have that yarn for us in your community. I think if you're a young black fella, getting connected in with Seed so you can come along to some of our in-person events and online events to really become connected with Seed and the work that we do, and as young mob leading the work at sea. And I think if you're an ally, there's an opportunity to financially support the work that we do at both EK and Seed, and become a one-off donor or become a regular donor, and make a commitment every month to support the work that we do. But definitely following our socials for Seed anyway. Martin, I'd assume it's the same. Socials is the most up-to-date place that we like to keep our network updated and engaged with the work.
Thanks, Angel. I'll just quickly read out a comment. Thank you. Someone said, it is so heartening to see that people can stand up against corporations and sometimes win. The Kimberley and Beetaloo and so much of Australia are such special places, which is very true. I might just take one more question and then we'll probably wrap it up. So and I'll put it to both of you if you want to touch on it, or whoever has something to say. Could you talk to campaign strategies that haven't worked and lessons learned?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that doesn't work, but it doesn't stop us. And I think the value of elements of the work that doesn't work only makes the things that we roll out in the future more powerful, both for communities that we're working with, but also bringing people along in that journey. I think, speaking from Seed and my experience campaigning with Seed over the last 10 years, the complexities and cultural load that Seed holds when working with communities, we always learn lessons around working with blackfellas on country. And I think it's actually really important that, we understand the complexities of community and the complexities of the fossil fuel industry and the chokehold that it can sometimes have, and the the crossroads that mob get at points when it's in their backyard. And so I think yeah, what we've learned, a lot of compassion, understanding, and lots of just unbiased education and informing and capacity building is the biggest piece for us at Seed. Martin, any yarns? Lots of wealth of knowledge from your side of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree there, Angel. And I guess, what I've seen, and I don't want to name any particular campaign, but from my observation, what doesn't work is campaigns that don't engage with the community. Community engagement is absolutely essential. Politicians, what they cared about is votes. So the more people, the more grassroots people who are ringing up their local MP or talking to candidates for elections and telling them things like fracking aren't acceptable in the Kimberley. In fact, nowhere is fracking acceptable now. Campaigns need to and have to engage with the community. And when that happens, and when there's a build-up of community concern and messages going to the decision makers, that's when you win. That's a really important point that I've personally experienced in quite a few different campaigns. So yeah, engaging with the community, that's the big one for us that can make or break a campaign.
We are running over time, so if anyone wants to leave, you can leave, of course. But I really want to ask this question because I think it's really important, and I've yarned with you about this before, Martin. What about jobs? Is the government justifying this by saying it creates jobs? How many actually are there? So yeah, I think we have some interesting insights on this with fracking.
For sure. So the Australia Institute, which I'm sure many of you will have heard of, they've got a great website. They are economists and people who analyze these kinds of things. They came up with a report that basically showed that there's virtually, hardly any jobs in the oil and gas industry in Western Australia, and there would be very few jobs in the Kimberley. And based on the number of jobs that there are now and the proportion of those jobs that are occupied by Aboriginal people, I think they said, and we can go back and have a look at this, but I think they said there'd be like 12, 15, maybe 20 jobs for Aboriginal people based on the number of people that are working in the oil and gas industry in Western Australia now and the proportion of Aboriginal people in that industry. So very, very few jobs. And when the Australia Institute actually put that report together, I was in Perth. They flew over. They were about to present it to Labour MPs. And Mark McGowan, by the time the Australia Institute person, Mark Ogue, arrived in Perth, had told all the MPs they were not allowed to hear that information from the Australia Institute. He banned the Australia Institute from giving that information to them. This is going back 5 years now. So just shows you that anyone who's talking about jobs, they're not basing it on the evidence that's out there.
Thank you, Martin. Did you want to yarn, Angel?
Yeah, the jobs yarn scratches my brain a little bit from back when we were a part of the Stop Adani campaign. But I remember there being figures put out around thousands, if not tens of thousands of jobs for the Carmichael coal mine. And when I can't remember who did the analysis of it, or maybe Adani come out themselves and said it, but there was like less than 1,000 jobs in it, and that was almost 10 years ago now. And like, and what? Like you promised tens of thousands of jobs. You build an international airport at Rocky, or propose an international airport at Rockhampton to get like international workers to come over. Like this is something that is a real issue, and it's so bloody corrupt the way that they try and use jobs to sell this to community. And not only that, in community they might sell oh, we'll send your kids to private school, or we'll do this or we'll do that. Like it's really, really like pack wolf style yarns that they have out there, and really try and corner and handpick people that they yarn to really manipulate communities. And I think jobs is something that is used as a pretty little picture that they paint for the broader community and the broader public of Australia. But I think like they actually get really dirty when it comes to yarning promises to community too. So, you know, jobs is just scraping the surface of promises that they make but can't keep because it's all fake. It's not right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angel. Yeah, so we're going to probably wrap up here. I might give both Angel and Martin an opportunity if you would like to have any closing thoughts, and then we'll wrap up. Martin?
Yeah, thank you very much. And again, thanks to Seed. Thanks for the amazing work that you're doing across the country. For a lot of us, you know, who are not quite as young as the mob involved in Seed, it's really, really heartening to see future generations and young people, particularly Aboriginal people who are on country, facing the very severe consequences of climate change, pushing back so hard. And we are really, really proud to be standing shoulder to shoulder with you. And we will win this campaign if we all stick together. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And please keep in touch. Please, let's work together. Let's get a win here. Let's ban fracking in the Kimberley.
Thank you, Martin. Angel, do you have any closing thoughts?
Oh, not the tears coming on, Martin. That was beautiful. And I think just as excited as you fellas are to work with Seed, we're so bloody keen to get out on the ground and, you know, go through the trenches with you fellas at EK. And I think for everyone watching, just the impact that we can have when we're together. And I think this concept that we're talking about more and more at Seed of planting the seeds of the trees we'll never sit under. And I think really acknowledging that in this moment right now, it's feeling really urgent and really dire because it is. And I think the input that we put in and the power that we can hold right now is justice for future generations so that we can all continue, you know, as black fellas as well, to be connected to country and connected to culture. And just really that concept, the trees that will never sit under, is something I'd really like to leave people with.
Thank you, Angel. And I'm feeling more hopeful and more inspired, and I'm hoping that everyone in the audience is. And I think, you know, a big message is that no, it's not easy, these fights and winning against these huge corporations who are supported by the government, but it can be done, and it's about taking action and standing together. So I hope everyone here goes on and follows Seed and EK on Instagram and Facebook if you don't already, at Environs Kimberley and at Seed Mob. Sign the petition to the EPA, and please share on socials, emails, everywhere. And please keep your ears open for future opportunities, future intervention points. And as we get closer and closer to the election, there will be more and more opportunities to take part wherever you are in the country. So stay tuned, and thank you so much to everyone for joining and being a part of this movement.